Real estate's been in the headlines a lot the last few weeks, but from some of the headlines we're seeing, the portrayal is not entirely accurate, and it's also not local. So we wanted to come to you today and share a little bit about what we're seeing. And I have my long-term partner, Ashton Ernst Ballard, here with me today. Ashton, thanks for being here.
Of course, great to be here and always excited to educate our follower base on what's really going on in the real estate world.
For sure. And so the source of these headlines is the National Association of Realtors recently settled or has a proposed settlement for a lawsuit that was in Missouri that could change the way that people buy and sell houses and real estate agents help them. And now, first of all, this is a national settlement, but a lot of the stuff we've already been doing in Georgia that is proposed in the settlement.
It really is. And, you know, despite the claims that from the media that this settlement is going to revolutionize the way that real estate is transacted, that's just simply likely not the case. So we really want to give the truth behind what the settlement means for the consumer and, you know, what action they can take now.
Yeah. And a lot of the things proposed in the settlement are around clear definition of who's paying what and making sure that the buyer has representation. And those have been the case in Georgia already.
Yeah, we really have led the charge, and, you know, I think will be used as an example for other states moving forward. And that's a really great thing. So as it's important to always remember that real estate is hyper-local and a case-by-case basis or a state-by-state basis. So it's important to know what's going on in your local market.
Yeah. And so let's start with a couple of the things that we're seeing in the headlines that are not entirely accurate. And the first one is I've heard people say and seen in the headlines that for the first time, real estate fees are negotiable. And that's just not true.
They always have been.
Yes.
Yes. And, you know, that is probably the thing that I think is tripping people up the most, because they're like, wait, they weren't, you know, and the reality is the seller could always negotiate the commission. The buyer could always negotiate the commission with their representation, and that isn't going to change.
Yeah, and this settlement doesn't propose a standard fee.
No.
And we're also seeing some people say that, hey, the cost is going to go down to X amount because that's now the standard. But there was no standard fee, and there is still no standard fee.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that is most alarming about the ads that are, or what the media is portraying around this settlement at this point in time, because the consumer is now under the under the impression that there was a standard fee, and now that's going to go down, and that's going to impact their ability to be able to buy or sell a home and make more money as a result. And that's just simply not the case.
Yeah, and another thing I'm seeing a headline saying that the seller will no longer be able to offer compensation to a buyer's agent who brings a buyer to buy their house.
Yeah, that's simply untrue. So yes, the sellers will be able to offer cooperating buyer agent commissions. They usually do choose to do that. They've had the opportunity not to do that,
for sure,
at least in Georgia, the entire time. But almost 99.9% of sellers choose to offer cooperating broker commissions because it's the best thing for them statistically in the sale of their home.
Yeah. So that's not required. It has not been required, but they can continue to do it moving forward, just like a lot of people have opted to do in the past. Another headline that I'm seeing a lot of that I wish were true, I really do wish were true, is that housing is about to all of a sudden be affordable, because the affordability isn't great right now. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and that's just not going to be the case. You know, and I think if you take an overarching look at this situation, what seller is going to want to sell their house for now, let's say 3% less than they did 3 months ago? They're not. They're going to want to still get top market value for their home. And most buyers are still going to choose to have representation because that's what's best for them and protecting their interest in the transaction. So if they don't pay it, or if the seller doesn't offer it, they're then going to seek that from their buying agent, or the buying agent is going to seek that commission. And then ultimately the buyer actually will lose in that situation. So they would have to pay then the down payment, the closing cost, plus their representation commission. So it could actually get worse for the buyer and potentially worse for the seller.
Yeah, and if you look at affordability has been driven by, in Atlanta, in the last 5 years, the median sales price is up over 60%. Interest rates are double what they were a handful of years ago. Those factors are driving affordability way more than any costs related to a mortgage or a real estate agent or attorney.
Yeah.
So we've talked about some things that were misconceptions or inaccurately portrayed.
Yeah.
Some things could change. What is actually changing based on this proposed settlement?
Yeah, I think the biggest change is that the cooperating broker commission will no longer be able to be advertised, assuming this settlement gets passed, will no longer be able to be advertised in the multiple listing service. So there's just going to be a handful of more conversations around it. And then I'd say the second biggest change, and this is something that's been pretty standardized in the state of Georgia anyways, but it will now be legally required that before you ever see a home, you have a buyer brokerage agreement or some type of agreement in place with the agent showing you the property or ideally your representation in that particular case that clearly outlines the commission.
Yeah. If you're working with a realtor, you have to have that agreement signed in order to see a house. And I mean, that's good for everybody to be on the same page. That's why the buyer's brokerage and the buyer representation in Georgia has been so good over the years, is we want people to be, on the same page.
Absolutely.
And I think, my kind of wrap up on this for y'all listening to us is, if you've ever heard us or know us at all, you know that we believe in home ownership.
We do.
I mean, we believe that everyone deserves a dream home, and we have worked tirelessly in our careers to do that because there's just such value in creating generational wealth, to fixing your housing costs, to not have inflation on rent drive up your cost, to have a set savings plan where you're building that equity every single month. And we are going to continue to help Atlantans do that. That is our number one focus moving forward.
Absolutely. Nothing changes from our, from our belief standpoint. And some of the operational changes may take place, but they're really things we were already doing and walking our clients through to begin with. So, I think it's really important to speak with a real estate professional around your specific situation and allow us to help you, get to the next level.
Yeah. And as far as it comes to fees, I mean, we have always worked hard to earn any fee that we've charged by providing great service and advice, making the process easier, making it actually happen for you. And regardless of whatever fee structures ever change, if they do, we're going to do the same thing moving forward.
We're always going to do that.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for taking the time today. Y'all, if you have any other specific questions about this or about buying and selling a house, you know that we would love to talk to you about it and help make things clear for you. Thanks for watching today.
Thank you.